Alright, David Harry here, and in this video I'm going to be building or putting together an Intel NUC, and in this instance this is the new i7 Panther Canyon. So what I'm going to be doing here is installing some RAM, installing an M.2 drive, and also installing a SATA drive. So basically I'm going to fill this up to the most things you can fill it up with. So in any event, even if you're not looking at putting a SATA in or an M.2, if it's one or the other, I'm going to cover that anyway in what I'm going to do, and obviously also the RAM as well. Now the way I'm going to do this is to do it in one take me time doing it, and it may not be the slickest video in the world or anything like that, but hopefully what I'm going to do here is give people the confidence to be able to do it for themselves. So if they can see how these things are done in real time, as opposed to like all edited up and go bang, 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 there you go, that's how you do it. If I can do this in such a way that kind of gives people the confidence to do it themselves, then that's job done for this video basically, because I just want to impress upon people this is not a difficult thing to do. Just watch this video carefully and I will cover all the bases that you will need covered in order for you to do the same, either with one or two drives and also the RAM. Okay, so let me get into this. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do here then is just go over what I've got on the table. And don't forget, this is going to be a one take thing, a bit kind of laid back as it were. And again, I just want to kind of do this in the way that like anyone would do it, rather than plow through it like a total idiot and stuff. Anyway, so what I'm going to be putting inside the NUC is, first of all, I've got a 250 gigabyte NVMe SSD. I've also then got two sticks of 8 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 RAM, which is going to be combined is going to be 16 gigabytes. I'll get to something about the RAM once I start putting the RAM in. And then here I've got a 4 terabyte SSD. Now I'm deliberately going for a 4 terabyte one for this, just to make sure that it is all good with high capacity SSDs going in on the SATA port and stuff like that. So that's the basics of what's there. So what I'm going to do here first of all is just open up the NUC. What I'll do, I won't be zooming in and out with the camera and what have you. It might mess up even more than what it's likely to mess up if I do that anyway. So what I'll do is just maybe in post, I might zoom into little bits. Now the other thing to remember here as well, the camera is likely to want to start focusing on my hand if it's too close to it. So there will be the odd little focus thing going wrong here and there. However, we will for the best part see exactly what's going on. So right now what I'm doing is unscrewing each of these screws in the corner of the NUC's base here, because what it is, these screws are what hold the NUC, what hold the base into place. Hey, I'm rhyming. So yeah, they hold the base into place on the NUC system and basically keep it all together. So I've nearly got this done. So like I say, all done in one take, so all the boring stuff like unscrewing screws is going to get done this way. Now the best thing to do here is probably just to tip it upside down and kind of jiggle it a little bit until it pops the base off like that. In fact, just while I'm doing this, let me just move all that stuff out the way there. So let me just get this more into the center of the frame. So what I'm going to do is pop this open. Now what's really cool, and we'll see this immediately with this particular NUC, what's great is this cable here, which allows you to place the base here a little bit further away and not have to start worrying about disconnecting things, because in the past these wouldn't have had like a long cable like that, and it was a little bit fiddly trying to move the base plate out the way and stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do for the first part here is go for the NVMe SSD, and that goes here. So we're going to plug it into that socket there, and then it kind of fastens on with this screw at the back here. So first thing is I will take the screw out. Now wherever possible, maybe use magnetic screwdrivers. Magnetic screwdrivers are not going to be a problem as far as the components and the board's concerned, but it will help you to stop dropping screws. The other thing as well, I would strongly recommend you use an anti-static band and stuff like that. So, basically ground yourself when you do this stuff. I'm not doing this, and that's because I've discharged myself before I do this. However, what I'm doing is very risky. So I would always recommend you wear an anti-static strap and stuff when you do these types of things. Okay, so what it is now, we're ready to put the NVMe SSD in. Let me just move this cable to one side here so it doesn't get in the way. Okay, so let me grab this. Now, this will do your NVMEs and your SATA on M.2 as well. So basically, I think anything you're going to throw in here is going to be fine. But I think, you know, most people are going to want to use NVMEs just for the speed and stuff. Now, as you can see here, that's slotted in. In fact, let me just do that again. So if we have a look here in this little, let's see, let me use the screwdriver as my pointing tool so my finger doesn't get in the way of everything. Right, so basically this little slot here, we just pop in the NVMe into there. And let's see if I can get a close up here. As we can see, there's a notch here on the actual drive, and that notch lines up with a little notch on the socket there as well. So we pop that in, and you'll know when it's in because it becomes like springy. So let me just show you this. See the way that's just sitting there like that now, and it's got a bit of a spring to it, so that's now connected in properly. So what we're going to do now is just push that down, and then we attach the screw, or we screw the screw into the back to hold it into place. Now, like I say, you know, we can use like, you know, SATA or NVMe for these as well, or, you know, that's SATA M.2 or NVMe M.2. Oops. There we go. See that? So my magnetic screwdriver's just come in handy there because I did drop the screw. Although I'm trying to get it back on where it is. I'm actually fumbling about it because I'm trying to look at the screen on the camera as well. And to be honest, that's not very magnetic, or at least that's the excuse that I'm going to use. So let me just pop that in there. So as we can't really see that because my hand's in the way, but we've seen the before and after. Like I say, my hand is inevitably going to have to get in the way with a bunch of this stuff. But as we can now see there, that screw is in place. So we've fastened in the NVMe there. So the next thing to do is to pop in the RAM into the two slots here. Now you're best off using 2 sticks around with these things. Now another thing as well, quickly, just before I get into this, these 2 sticks of RAM that I've got are rated at 3200 megahertz, and the actual NUC will do 3200 megahertz as well. Although I don't think the NUC is XMP like compatible. So if you got XMP profiled memory, which is how it gets its clock, I don't think you're going to be able to do that. So do have a little look around for the memory for these NUCs. Unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure whether this memory does actually clock as high as it should do. I think it goes in at like 2667 or something like that. So like I say, if you want the full speed out of the RAM, I would strongly recommend that you go and check out on the Intel site, you know, what memory they recommend. And in fact, I'll have a link in the description for that. I've basically grabbed these because they said they were 3200, but I think these require some XMP facility in the BIOS in order for them to be clocked properly. So like I say, that's just a little thing to think about as far as the actual clock speed to the RAM is concerned. Now once again here, as we'll see with this RAM stick, there's like a little notch here, as we can see, and then on the actual little the retainers here, the slots for the RAM, there's also these notches on them as well, so you can only put the RAM in one way, so you can't mess this up in any way whatsoever. And then also as well, what we can probably see here, hopefully I can get zoomed in, on each side of these little, like, you know, slots here for the RAM, we've got like these little levers almost at the side. Now these are just little grip systems, so these little bits of metal on the side, one there, there's one there, there's also one there, and there's one there. They'll catch the RAM once it's in place, and it'll just kind of like, you know, hold it in and stuff. So with that said, let me put it in. You're best off doing the bottom one first so you don't cover the access to the bottom one by putting the top one in first. And once again, the same thing, when you put it in, it'll just hold itself in place and be a bit springy like that. Then all you literally do is just kind of push it down gently. Then at some point you're going to hear clicks, so that there is going to click in, and that's going to click in and hold it in place. There we go. So 2 quick clicks. Just always give it a little bit of a push just to make sure it's all in. Also as well, you will see if it hasn't connected properly because it won't line up here, and those little catches won't catch the little slots properly either. So what I'm going to do now is go for the second one. exactly the same thing. In fact, let me try putting this in the wrong way around. Right, so as we'll see, oh, it won't fit, and it won't fit because the little notch there doesn't line up with anything. So let me turn it around the right way around. Let me just push it into the slot a bit. Give it a little gentle push down. We'll hear a couple of clicks or 2 fast clicks. There we go, 2 quick clicks. Boom, there we go, and that one's in as well. So that's now the RAM sorted and the NVMe. Now at this point, this may be all that you need to do because you may not be wanting to put a SATA drive in, or conversely, you may want to be using a SATA drive and not an NVMe, because don't forget with this, you can boot or just have one or either or in this configuration. You don't have to have an NVMe, or you don't have to have an M.2 in, and you don't have to have a SATA in. You can go either or as a boot drive and either or for storage. Obviously, in this instance, I'm going to be using, well, not obviously, what I'm going to be doing is using NVMe to boot with for OS and programs, and then the 4 terabytes in here is going to be used for data storage and stuff, video files and whatnot. So let me just move this across a little bit here. Now, what we're going to have to do first on here is to remove these 4 little rubber plugs. So let me just get under here, see if I can try and cover me little serial thing up there. So what we can see here, we've got a little rubber plug there, we've got a little rubber plug there, we've got one there, and then we've got one there as well. So what we need to do is just pull these out. I think you can pull them out from the bottom like that, as you can see. So just get your fingernail underneath them and then just pop them out. They're only there just to protect those holes when they're not in use for screws with the drives. So let me just pop that again. So there we go. So that's all 4 of them are out now. I want to turn this back around here. What we're going to see is there is the power and SATA at the back. So there's the connector that we need to connect into. And if you have a look down here, there's a hole there. So literally what you do, line up your drive so that your drive is pointing the right way that way, so that your SATA and power line up with the SATA and power at the back there. And then just this hole here, just basically pop your drive in there and then push it in gently so it all locks into that slot or that socket at the back there. Hold on, and then there we go. You'll feel it click in and it'll go in nice and gently there. Now what it is, you get a bag of screws and stuff, and I still haven't worked out what's what here, so I might take a few seconds to work this out, but there should be 4 screws in here for screwing the 2.5 inch drive into the plate from the other side, which is where we've just took those rubber plugs out of. The other thing here as well to remember is this could be a hard drive, it could be a mechanical drive, doesn't have to be an SSD. Although it does say, I believe, that the gap there or the space is 7 millimeters. So just make sure that your drive is no thicker than 7 millimeters. Okay, so I'm going to just have a little dig through these screws here. I reckon that one, let's see, that one, and that one are the ones for the drives. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just turn this back over, and then these little 4 screws here, I'm going to use them to hold that drive into place. So we just put the screws down there. Once again, I just want to try and cover this serial thing here. The thing is, I normally blank these out with some kind of tracking thing in posts, but because I'm going to be moving it around, my thing doesn't track that well on my edit system. I'm sitting there and I have to do manual keyframing when I start blaring stuff. Anyway, so 1 screw goes there. Let me just pop this one on. Like I said, I might also just do all this all in real time. Just give you a really good idea as to the kind of time it's going to take. That one's all screwed in. Don't over tighten them. You don't need to go mad with this. You don't have to, act like the Hulk or something, just like, smashing things up or, forcing things into weird places and stuff. There we go, hold on. What it is also the light here. I'm just trying to get the light right so we can see what's going on here. And then there we go. That one goes into there. So obviously what's happened here, when I've stuck the SATA drive in, there are 4 holes under the SATA drive which line up with these holes, and as we should be able to see with that last hole there, that's looking straight through to the actual hole in the SATA drive, so the screw hole in the SATA drive there. So there's my final one there. Let me just pop that in. Let me try and get that in there. Okay, so that's now the SATA drive in. So SATA drive's all firmly in. Let me just move these bits out of the way here as well. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is just flip this over. Now, what you have to remember here, this little like pad thing here, it might look like a stick of weird gum or some kind of weird like blotchy foam thing or whatever. What that is, that's like a heat pad, and that basically helps to transfer the heat from your NVMe or basically your M.2 drive there. It helps to transfer the heat from there onto that plate as well. So that's part of your like heat dissipation system for the M.2. So what you need to do is make sure that when you put this back over, the alignment should be like the way I've got it, where that pad is lined up to go over onto that there. So what I'm going to do is just flip this over and get it all back in. Again, let me just see if I can cover that serial number for now until it's down, and when it's down I can mask it properly. Okay, so as you can see there, that's all gone in nice. So what you'll find as well, there are like little notches around the sides here as well, so you can't actually put that base plate in the wrong way around either. So then what we do now, we just go back and tighten up these 4 screws again. Let me just get that one in. Once again, you know, don't over tighten them. It's not a competition, and you know, you don't know when you might need to get back into these things at some point, so you don't want to be running the risk of, like, you know, damaging the screw heads and stuff like that. Also, for the best part, these things don't move around, so it's not like you've got to tighten them right down like a loony because they're moving all the time, and you know, they might start vibrating and fall out and stuff. So let's see. Okay, so that one's in there. Now what I'm going to do, let me just flip this around. Okay, so as we can see there, that is one NUC which is now being expanded to its maximum, so that being 2 memory sticks, an M.2 drive and a SATA drive as well. Okay, so with this all done now, what I'm going to do is just install Windows on it, boot it up, have a look at my drive system and stuff, because that 4TB drive has actually got stuff on it, so I can immediately test it out on the system. So I'm going to cut away to doing that now quickly. I'm not going to be doing any kind of anything here to do with installation of software. This is just so that we can see that the thing is working, but maybe more importantly for me, just make sure there isn't any issues with that 4TB drive going into that SATA port. Now obviously at this point you really do need to be working out what operating system you're going to put on. So far, you know, this is going to be good for the likes of, say, Linux and various versions of Linux and Windows and stuff. I've tried putting Android on. I can't get it to go on. Also, as well, I've tried Chrome OS as well. Chrome OS goes on but won't work because it doesn't understand the iGPU that's on this computer. If these things change in the future, I'll most certainly do videos about that as well. But anyway, for now, I'm just going to now cut away to, after I've put all my software on, let's have a quick look at that. Okay, so what we're looking at here then is the desktop after I've installed Windows and stuff onto this NUC. So this is now Windows on the NVMe drive, and if I go here and I'll go to computer, as we can see, second drive there is my 4TB one. It's actually chocker full here because this is something that I use on one of my edit systems, so there's usually tons of video data and stuff being backed up on this. I'm a complete mess with my archiving and my data and stuff like that. However, what's really good here is this NUC has had no problems seeing both of these drives. So once again, C drive there, that was the NVMe drive that I'd installed, and the D drive here is the 4TB that I installed into the SATA port. Okay, so this was just a quick look so that we could see that everything was working after I installed Windows, installed a few things, and then also put a drive in that's had tons of data on it. Okay, so there we have it then, how to put together one of these Intel i7 Panther Canyon NUCs. And also that other little bit at the end there as well, where I was just showing what it looked like once Windows was on, and making sure that I could definitely access the data on the 4TB as the secondary drive in the SATA compartment. Okay, so if you've liked this video anyway, keep an eye out for more videos like this to do with this NUC. I'm going to be trying it out with a video capture device on Thunderbolt, and also using using it for OBS, some video editing and stuff like that. So if you're into that kind of thing, defo keep an eye on my channel. I'll try the odd gamey thing with it as well, probably, now that it's all together with its RAM and I'm able to do things like that, hopefully. Also as well, there'll be links in the description to this video taking you to where you can buy this NUC. I'll also have links building up as to some of the peripherals that I'll be using, and hopefully some of these capture devices as well, once I work out which stuff works and all the rest of it. Anyways, if you've liked the video, please give it a massive thumbs up. Also, if you've really liked the video, please consider subscribing to my channel, getting all over the bell notification icon so you can be notified of future videos and all the rest of it. Anyway, I'm David Harry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.